when he does that, does he like glow? Do you see any manifestation of power coming through that staff as he begins his smitation? Or I just want an eyewitness account.
Well, that's a really tremendous question. Because I'll tell you, when Matthew asked me to go with him, I sort of had some concerns about that myself. I thought maybe he might start acting like John Alexander Dowie, or that he might, do a good imitation of Charlton Heston there at the Red Sea, and it is a little bit kind of like Charlton Heston standing by the Red Sea. He lifts the staff up in the air, and I mean to tell you, Daniel, we were at the Washington Monument just prior to the fireworks display. There were thousands of people out there. Matthew, in a very, very quick, very simple action, took the staff. He had me pour some olive oil on the tip of the staff. The olive oil dripped to the ground, and Matthew smites the ground, just not very hard, really, just a tapping, if you will. But then Matthew stretches that staff toward the object, and he begins to preach and proclaim as loudly as he can. And I'll tell you, there must have been a few thousand people out there who heard what he had to say that day, just as there were hundreds at the Supreme Court who heard Vincent Xavier, Matthew, and myself, each of us preaching, proclaiming, and decreeing out there. It's not a wild man type of thing. We were not touched by any Capitol Police officer while we were there. Certainly they did gather. They looked at us. They were conferring. But they never approached us any closer than about 15 feet. Matter of fact, the closest that we have been approached was in Raleigh, North Carolina, at the Justice Building, and we were right out in front of the Justice Building, 4 feet away from the front door, and a security officer came out right as Matthew was finishing. She came outside, and we walked away down the sidewalk when he was done. And that's really it. It's been very simple, very elegant, and I'm going to give it to Matthew now. Matthew wants me to talk about this little thing called the lightning bolt. Well, we had finished up, and we have Matthew's wife here with us, and it turns out that she is an incredible shofar blower. Maybe your listeners don't know what a shofar is, Daniel. It's a long 8-axe horn off of an animal from the Middle East, and prophetic characters through the thousands of years have blown these things. Well, I can't really blow one very good, and Matthew, he blows it a little better than me, but let me tell you, little Kathy, she can blow the shofar just as good as my daughter Rachel, who's a trumpet player. And Kathy blew the shofar at the corner of Constitution and Virginia, right across from the Washington Monument, right as I had discovered that the Constitution is also 17th Street. Now, I know that the flood of Noah began on the 17th day of the second month of the 600th year of Noah's life, and I was very intrigued to find out that Constitution Avenue, bordering the Washington Monument, is called 17th Street. And as I was looking at that, Kathy blew that shofar. We turned around, walked up the street, and the loudest crack of lightning and thunder hit in that area of the monument. I'm telling you, I would have been scared if I'd have been out there. And, that number 17 is also important because if you have any kind of inkling in your heart that Matthew Stephen just might be saying something here that's real, you might go on his website and read vision number 17, which is called the Towers of Stone Vision. I'll tell you, if you can read that one and get all the way through it and not think that we might have a little bit of trouble with God here in this country, I think you're totally deaf and blind and unable to process thought.
Okay, I've got a request here. You guys don't happen to have that shofar there in the room, do you?
We got a camera switched out on us, Daniel. We didn't even hear the question. Go ahead and go again on that.
Okay, sorry about that. Do you guys have the shofar where you're at, and do you want to blow it live on the air here?
Yeah, that'd be great, Daniel. We'll do that in just a little bit. I really appreciate doing that. Let's try to get back to that in about 10 minutes or so.
Okay. All right, guys. By the way, I have this writer emailed on the Fast Blast. They wanted to put this message in to the live chat, and the writer says this: for those in the live chat, before you make hasty decisions on what you hear, or anywhere, take time to ponder, consider the possibility that what we've heard might or might not be true. Take several days to digest this information before we dismiss it. Sometimes truth does not show itself right away. Consider, are we able to receive the truth no matter how it comes? And you know what, writer, that's an excellent thing to say, because one of the things I find about the Edge is that we're actually trying to help people understand or unlearn the way we've been trained to communicate, because we are trained to instantly dismiss someone who doesn't say what we believe or how we believe it, or they've experienced something that we haven't experienced. And so I think that in order for this Edge table, tonight we have a couple prophets here at the table. Next week we may have some ufologists, maybe some Bigfoot people next week after that. But you know what? Everyone deserves a place at the table of truth and commentary. In fact, biblically, I believe there was a place, I don't know if it was called Stephen and Matthew, I don't know, a place called Mars Hills, but I think there was a place where even Jesus went, where the Romans would listen to anyone that had a story. And I think when Jesus came, they said, wow, this guy's pretty interesting, we want him to come back. But they allowed for anyone to come, and they would ponder. They would say, what's your story? Make us believe. Show us how you arrived at your conclusions. I think there was a place like that. So hopefully the Edge, before people make rash decisions and dismiss any guest, whether these guests tonight or any guest, I think they should pause and consider. Now we have this question here. This is from the Fast Blast. Matthew and Stephen, do you have a timeline or time frame for a major pandemic? And do you see us entering into a depression? And will the United States become a third world country?
Absolutely. Daniel, that's a good question to that listener out there. I want to say there was much counsel and wisdom of what the other statement was from the other person, the other listener that made that just a little earlier, to not to discount things so abruptly, and that I think that people need to think things over a little and pray and discern and season it out a little bit before they try to discount and throw things out the door a lot of times. But as far as America goes as being a third world country, yes, absolutely. I see America totally falling apart. It will look worse than a third world country when it's over with, when God's done with it. As far as the time frame of things, we're about ready to see that. I spoke about the June 94 to June